Hi Heart of Tarot people and my mystery school. It's Merryl Key and we've had a request to have a look at the coronavirus. So as of today, the World Health Organization announced a world emergency for this. But just as a bit of a background, what we know is an animal virus that's transferred to humans. The first strains of this particular one were in December 2019. But there's been a lot of criticism that health authorities didn't do enough to relay the emergency and contain the virus. So there was a real delay in information getting out. It centred the Wuhan area in central China, which is a major economic sort of hub, transport, manufacturing, technology. I think it's their third largest city. 11 million people live there. And because there was a delay getting information out, Chinese New Year, which fell on the new moon, Jan 25, 5 million people left that city and travelled to other parts of China and the world, and an awful lot to Japan. So that's created quite an issue because this virus takes 14 days of incubation and it's not detectable in that 14 days. The other thing we know about this virus is that initially people trying to put the message out in China, a bunch of doctors tried to put it on social media and they were arrested by the police, which in China is a really big deal. There's a whole lot of stories, coincidences perhaps, where Bill Gates has been involved in pouring money into a vaccine for this virus and even ran a simulation of a pandemic 6 weeks ago in a New York conference. And I can say that I think a couple of days ago, around the 28th or 9th of Jan, Australian scientists has found a game-changer diagnosis. They were able to work with a live strain of the virus, whereas the Chinese officials since December only sent out sort of the gene map, the code of it. But in Australia, the scientists were able to get hold of the live virus and have very quickly been able to replicate it, meaning a vaccine is that much closer, if that's the course we're going for. So at the same time as this virus is sort of getting out, there's a whole lot of new technology coming in to try to be the first to solve it. So the questions I thought we should ask: what was its source? And that's looking at, is big business involved? The other thing I thought we should ask is, what's the impact outside of China? And what we're getting at there is what sort of spread and what sort of containment and what needs to happen. And the last one I thought, how will it be contained? We're really kind of fleshing out that original request of, is this just a big media beat up? Or is this actually something that we need to, the whole world needs to worry about? So I'm going to be using good old reliable Rider-Waite-Smith. I'm also going to be having a look using Brian Knight's Celestial Tarot to see if we can get some astrology on it. Just while we're shuffling, China has put those cities in absolute lockdown, so no one can leave their house. There's no transport, there's no movement of people. They've closed down most of the main events, all the sporting events, pre-Olympic Games type sporting events, theatres, schools. There's travel warnings in place, and business and transport has stopped. We also know that this has come out at the time of that Pluto-Saturn conjunction, and that's with Mercury in there as well in Ceres. It's actually indicative of a viral spread. So our first question, what was the source of the virus? So we've got the 10 of Cups, the 6 of Cups below, 5 of Swords heading into the 2 of Pentacles, with an outcome, the Ace of Wands. So one thing we're looking at here is, was the virus manufactured? Now it really centres on people being together, where people gather, where people congregate. And there is an animal market in this village. The virus initially came from a seafood market or a wet food market. I feel this is how the virus is spread, through touch, through transport, through careless practice. It's also trade and commerce, and this also represents that crossover from animal virus to human. Over here though, this is really interesting. Why is the Five of Swords behind this spread? So this is a win at all cost card. It's sabotage. It's in for the kill without caring what harm happens. So something before has led to competition and win at all cost. People being careless with that they're serving the community. I'll come back to this one. Underneath, we've got like the good old days, old practices, the way people used to do it. There's also some kind of karmic return. We've been in this place before. If this question is, what is the source of the virus? This outcome, Ace of Wands, it shows to me it was like the perfect conditions for this virus to spread. Wands is about communication, reaching foreign shores, but also searching for new ways of thinking. So we've got this sort of story here of a vaccine, but in its sort of primal force, the Ace of Wands, I think, just draws all this up and says, bang, perfect conditions. I feel also the hand grabbing this wand here is also how the information was blocked getting out. Just have a look more over here. A bit more information on this Five of Swords, Queen of Swords and Chariot. That makes me feel, sorry, I'll move them in. Queen of Swords and Chariot. That makes me feel law requirements and health conditions and legislation wasn't followed. So I guess I want to know where it wasn't followed. The same thing as this rush to get things out. Part of the story of the Wuhan area where the virus originated is that there is an animal or a biolab right near the village. And see this little river of polluted water? I don't know if that's got anything to do with this, but that's what I'm trying to investigate here. So I'm going to do another question and see where were these health risks taken, or this competition, this need to get something out. Well, honestly, that looks like the wet market. It doesn't really look like the biolab to me. Again, there's like contaminated water. So our next question. What is the impact for the world? So what is the impact for outside of China? What is the impact outside of China? Knowing that the World Health Organization has just called it a world emergency. Signifier, loss and sorrow. So there will be death, there will be loss. Below, it's the movement. So sorry, this was the Five of Cups. This one is the Three of Wands. It's the movement across the waters. It's things traveling abroad. It's travel, it's trade. Like we said, Wuhan is a massive centre of trade for China. In the past, the Hanged Man. This is the inactivity of the authorities to get something done. This is the incubation period of the virus not being taken into account. This is things moving too slow. But there's the world racing into action. So it looks like there is a fight on our hands. The impact outside of China is a real rally cry to get very decisive action. Impact for the world. The search for answers. So the search for a cure or a vaccine. Also times of isolation, people coming into isolation. This idea of travel, we have to rethink it. For the virus itself, I wonder if, because they have isolated the virus now, I wonder how close a vaccine is, or if there's other measures. So we've got good news coming on a potential vaccine. That's very good news on a potential vaccine. And so is that. This is, it needs collaboration and cooperation all over the world. It maybe needs two different sources to come together, and those two pieces will find it. I have to say though, when I'm looking at the spread of virus, these three images also tell me that things can flow very quickly. We know that's possible, but there are worse ways to say this will spread everywhere and we're all going to die. I don't think these cards are saying that. I think it's saying that it needs a global approach. It's potential that there's something in the water, or so washing hands, that sort of thing. Maybe it's spread through water is what I'm also saying. We'll put them back. And I don't think it's going to be the major catastrophe of like the plague. One thing I could say is Robert Cosmar, one of the YouTube astrologers, has done some astro reading of the map of the spread of coronavirus. And from what he's found, it seems that the virus will spread from the west of China, or towards the west rather than towards the east. So he's looking at the next places will be India. And in fact, it was reported Kerala has got its first person infected today. They reported that. And he's saying that over the next few months, it tends to spread towards more Europe. So what we want to know is, how will it be contained? Maybe we'll look at 3 months. How will it be contained over the next 3 months? Oh, that is mysterious. I always have a blank card in the deck, just in case the answer is unknown. So we're starting with a mystery. I'll put a signifier on top of it, and we've got the Page of Wands. How will it be contained? Well, that does seem to be containing its growth, again through travel and communication. But there's little plants growing on that. Maybe there's a plant source, I don't know, that might help. We'll keep going. How will it be contained? The Magician. Words and actions have to come together. There can be no more untruths on this. It is an opportunity for new technologies, but and it seems like the labs are behind it. But words and actions really have to come together. In the recent past, that's the virus, that's the Four of Wands, that's the virus crossing that threshold and starting to spread. So if we've gone from this card to this, we can see something, it will be contained. That is the signifier, though when and how is a bit unknown. Looking into where we're headed. Yeah, not good. Sorry guys, that's the Nine of Swords. So that to me feels like efforts to try to find a cure. It has to keep going back to the drawing board. I also wonder if this is the anxiety is worse than the reality. So we're looking at a time of high anxiety, but maybe it's worse than the reality. Maybe it's worse than the reality. Looking at the outcome, that's interesting. The Six of Pentacles. I think these are like experimenting, trying different cures. I wonder when it gets to India if this is going to be when more philanthropists and there's more money thrown at it. Maybe this is Bill Gates, but will it be contained? It's a balance around who gets what. Maybe some people, maybe it's contained in some areas. Let's get more. Who is this? Who or what? It's gifts of money coming in and breakthroughs. I'm not sure if you can see that. Yeah, you can. Okay. Yeah. It's just the time it takes for testing. So we've got the 8 and we've got the 6 and then the 3, collaboration. It really needs collaboration. I know we're looking for the next 3 months. This seems to be the 3 months, and maybe between 6 and 9 there's more progress. I also feel that this is really looking at trade and slowing it down. So trade may be affected longer than this idea about finding what we can give to halt the progress. Just draw a few of these celestial tarot cards on this. These are just the planets. And because Ceres isn't included in this deck, I've put in, I think I used Aquarius for Ceres, because today or tomorrow, Ceres is moving into Aquarius, having been involved in that big conjunction just last week, or last couple of weeks, with Pluto and Saturn. So, planets, what can you tell me about the timing, or about the timing and or the spread of this containment? First card, we've got the Sun and Saturn. Saturn is the world, so it needs the world to take responsibility. Saturn is in Capricorn, about to move into Aquarius as well. So I might see if there's a time frame or something we can get. It definitely needs world responsibility and restrictions around the world. This is Aquarius. Okay, this is my card for Ceres. I think it's when Ceres moves into, and potentially when Saturn moves into Aquarius, which will be, I think it's March, which is our 3 months. Okay. Ceres is in Aquarius today. Saturn moves in, I think, on the equinox, 23rd of March. So that might be when we're looking at a real containment or a real breakthrough. I know that feels like a long time, but I also feel that maybe the anxiety is worse than the reality. If any of you got an idea on anything of this, or you want to do your own reads, be really interesting to see what comes up. Thanks, my Mystery School people. Thanks, Heart of Tarot people. Any other suggestions, keep them running in. You can find me on Facebook or YouTube on My Mystery School, or Instagram under My Mystery School. I'm Merryl Key. Have a great weekend.